You break whatever it is down to its most fundamental component parts, and you work upward from there, instead of reasoning by what already exists. This is why SpaceX exists. You know, Elon Musk figured out a long time ago that you could not profitably have any kind of a rocket that couldn't be reused. So what did they then focus on? How to create a rocket system where it landed and they could reuse it, and they successfully have done that. That's a great example of it. And there's some great stories that go behind that. I'm not going to take the time to share those with you now. I just want to make sure you understand the concept. And he's not the first guy that talked about this. Let's go all the way back to this guy, Aristotle. And he, in his reasoning, talked about boiling everything down to its core, right to the most fundamental elements of whatever it is. And that is the first principle. The idea is, rather than fiddling around out here and trying to figure out something with the stuff that you're already aware of, get down to the core and then start there and build your way back out. When we talk about this relative to human nature, first principle, now this is a PPI definition. This is relating first principles thinking to human nature. First principles are undeniable basic truths from which human choices, actions, and behaviors emerge. And we're going to develop all of this, so you don't need to remember this definition, but we're going right down to the fundamental elements here, okay? So let's talk about what the first principles are relative to human nature. This is on page 15. You've got fill in the blanks here. First of all, thought is the genesis. When we say thought is the genesis, what does that mean? Everything begins with thought. That's really the message there. And we can validate that real easily just by looking around this room. Looking at that PowerPoint slide, started out as a thought in my mind, and there it is. This table right here started out as a thought in somebody's mind, and there's the table. Same thing with this tablecloth, same thing with the pattern in this carpet, same thing with the way this tape was laid out on this floor. It started out with a thought that Stephen and I had yesterday, and there it is. Everything begins with thought. Any comments or questions about that? All right then. So then we look at, now that we recognize everything begins with thought, what are those fundamental core things that are important to all human beings? Trust, respect, acceptance and intimacy, control, progress, justice, and gratitude. Now, relative to intimacy, we are not talking about sex. We're talking about closeness with one or more other human beings. Closeness, openness, transparency, that's intimacy. Control, we're not talking about controlling others. We're talking about feeling like we have control over ourselves to some level, our choices, what we want, what we don't want, that sort of thing. That's the kind of control we're talking about. And then these other terms we will address directly as we go through the rest of the material here. So here's the thing. We talk about those being natural principles. These are the first principles of human nature. If we can just focus on these things right here, it's the key to everything. Relative to relationships, relative to people working together. When we have good relationships, we have people working together, what's going to happen to our productivity and our safety and our efficiency and everything else? We're striking at the root here, not hacking at the leaves.